Happy Monday, everyone. Hi, everybody. It's another Matcha Monday. Don't worry, this Monday I will have my matcha, but I have my Uber Eats delivering my matcha right now. Hey, it's Anne-Marie. I mean, Annie Mary. Hi, everyone. You guys just need to give me a couple seconds. I'm going to do a quick little housekeeping introduction, and then we'll get right to it. We're going to get Anne-Marie to join us in live, and you guys can ask all your questions. Actually, I already have my questions, so be a little patient. What we're going to do is that I am going to personally ask took the liberty and wrote a list of questions that are frequently asked and also I'm personally curious about. And then we're going to give her some time to answer the questions, and then meanwhile, if you guys have something related to the topic that we're talking about or the question that we're talking about, then feel free to ask in the comment. But if it's something else, we can have a little bit of a Q&A at the end so that we can try to stay on topic, because I have a tendency of, just derailing, And then after that, so don't worry, if your question doesn't get answered, there will always be a Q&A at the end, so you guys can answer them at the end. Yes, I am waiting for my matcha, so you guys will get an interruption midway through this for my matcha delivery. And if you guys are wondering why I'm in a raincoat, it's because, it's finally real Vancouver time. It's raining now, it's gloomy now, which I kind of like it. It's a little weird, but I personally love the rain, so I don't mind it so much. So I just do a quick little introduction today. For those of you who don't know who I am Cheryl, the founder of Untamed Artistry. It's the quirkiest lash brand in the industry right now. And my goal is always to share with you guys as much information as I possibly can, so that you can focus on building your business rather than figuring all the other shit out. Well, Anne-Marie, on the other hand, I actually found her recently. Hi, Carrie. I found her recently on her post about adhesive education. She did a 3-part blog. If you haven't read it, you are missing out, because if you follow me, you should have read it by now. That was your homework. But she wrote this 3-part blog on adhesive that even personally, I learned things I've never learned about, which I will be asking and talking about today, that I personally reached out to her, like the lash owner that I was, and asked to pick her brain. And she was so generous, allowed me to pick her brain and learn about things that I didn't know about adhesive. And today, she's spreading that generosity to all of you and allowing you guys to pick her brain as well. So without further ado, I'm going to ask Anne-Marie to scroll to the top of the chat box, because a lot of people have said hi to us already, and request to go live so that we can chat with her. What do you guys say? Let's go. Let's do this. I'm going to wait while I do my happy dance, because anytime... Ooh, there she is. Hi. Ooh, I'm gonna. Hi. How's it going?
Like that.
Oh, what does it look like?
It's fine. It's just very elongated.
Oh, yeah, it has to fit 2 of us in there, so that's probably why.
Perfect.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
So, what time zone are you? Because I remember when I was trying to set this up, we never really talked about what time zone we're in. So I don't even know where you're from. So I feel really bad.
Oh,
where are you from? Tell us where you're from.
No, I'm in Texas, so it's Central Time Zone.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right. So why don't we dive in? I'm going to give you a quick few minutes to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you. Tell us about how you got started in the lash industry. Oh, there's my matcha delivery, and then so that we can hear all about your experience that you've had in this industry so far.
Okay, so let's see. I got into the industry kind of as like a fluke. Before, I was doing special effects and beauty makeup for film and TV, and I met someone who was in the lash industry, and she said, "You're gonna work for me one day." I thought, okay, whatever, always keeping an open mind. And years later, she messaged me and she said, "Hey, we have an opening in product development. I know you're not in the lash industry. We'll train you. We would love for you to be a part." So I interviewed and joined into the lash industry that way almost 8 years ago. And my first roles were in product development. So kind of learning why we have certain tools, certain processes and procedures for the lash application, which is really fun. So I know you asked about me working around scientists, and that came from product development. a lot of companies aren't doing real product development, unfortunately. Like the extent of it is going to be like getting in some fiber samples, picking some lash trays, calling it a day.
Yep.
So I was very blessed to get to see firsthand how lashes are made, how different fibers are tapered, and how you really customize lash trays, adhesives, all of those different things. So working hand in hand with scientists as they're developing the product and just trying to soak up as much knowledge as I can, because I'm not a scientist. You know, so just taking in as much information as possible. And then got into education from that, because when you're, as you know, developing a product, the education goes hand in hand. You know, how do you use this product? How do you make it work to its best? And that's something that I really want to focus on today, is knowing that products are made in systems. Somebody might recommend an adhesive 100%, but what are they using with it? You know, a lot of times when you're developing an adhesive, it's going hand in hand with the product that they're selling, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's a little about me, and I've got all my notes around me because I wanted to be prepared for you guys.
Oh, thank you so much. Like, so what was your role in product development specifically?
So specifically, I did a lot of like leading tests. So putting together like all the data, all the spreadsheets, figuring out, you know, who's testing what and why they're getting the results they're getting. So trying to have that really controlled group and making sure that we're not just testing, for example, adhesive on somebody with oily skin, making sure we're testing on coarse lashes, dense lashes, fine, curly, really trying to cover that. So I got to do that and then provide all my feedback to these wonderful scientists of like what I liked and what I didn't like. And it was cool to see their mind turn. And the engineers that worked with too, they're like, that makes sense why you're saying that. And they always had some really thorough explanation as to why I was experiencing what I was experiencing. You know, if I said, oh, you know, I feel like it's not sticking that well, or I feel like it's drying kind of hard and then it gets brittle, they knew exactly why that was happening. So, you know, they just used me more as like the lash stylist to like provide a lot of feedback and hone in on the testing.
Okay, cool. So you were like the middleman between like the end user and then the scientist, right?
Exactly.
They probably would never be able to communicate with the end user and know exactly what an artist. That's, I think, one of the things that I struggle a lot with, especially in my journey of finding like tweezers and stuff like that. Those of you who try have your own product, you know how difficult it is to communicate to a party that does not do what you do. And
no, it's so difficult.
Exactly. So like to explain to them like why I need pickup to be a specific way, they're just like, it picks up lashes. It's fine. It's okay. What are you talking about? You know?
Exactly.
So okay. So yeah, thanks for sharing with us your experience. Okay, I'm gonna jump into some of these questions that I kind of written down already, so that maybe you can help us like answer some of these questions. So number one, the thing that I reached out to you, if you recall, was this: when I read about not using your adhesive below 40% humidity level. I'm going to let you explain that to everybody first, and I'm going to add in some stuff in there at the end, some theories that I've had now after I've learned that with you. But go ahead and tell us, why is it important for us to use our adhesive in an environment that's 40% humidity and higher?
Sure. So a lot of adhesives, they're going to work their best at 50 to 55% humidity, because that's when the adhesive's monomer is going to actually rise up in the air, cure, and fall back down, creating that hardened bond around the extension in the natural lash. So what happens is if we're lashing in really low humidity, it's not getting the chance to get enough moisture to rise, cure, and fall. So that's the concern, is if it's too low of a humidity, I notice that a lot of times in these low humidity areas, there's a lot more red eyes. And I know that that's a lot of my lash friends who are in those low humidity areas. They're like, well, how do you not have red eyes? Well, you know, trying to find an adhesive that's been developed to work in lower humidities will help, but you don't have enough moisture in the air to help it cure. So it's just fumigating, I don't say fumigating, that's a terrible word, but it's just sitting there fuming around the eyes as it's trying to cure. So you don't want to be too high, because if you're too high of humidity, it's curing too fast. You can't actually get it to work well for you. So trying to be, I always recommend at least 40%. A lot of people say, oh, I tried that. My clients don't really have red eyes anymore. My application's longer. So that's kind of the thought process behind it, is giving it enough moisture for those monomers to cure and fall.
Yeah, that's what my understanding was, that, you know, because probably correct me if I was wrong, because the molecule in the air tends to move a little slower when it's drier as well. So it doesn't have enough time, like you said, for the monomer to set. So personally, I learned like with my chemist in Korea that he said all cyanoacrylate, which is the active ingredient in our adhesive, sets in the 45 to 55 range humidity level, because that's like their natural state of curing or polymerization. So anything below that or above that or works outside that range, it's the additives in there that like makes it manipulate the drying time and the consistencies and all that stuff, right?
Right, exactly.
So personally, I've lashed out of a condo that's made out of concrete wall for the 2.5 years that I was lashing full time. And now I feel like I have a little bit, maybe a theory here, that why I developed such a severe sensitivity to it is because I was constantly lashing in low humidity environment. So my environment in the winter time, it's 10%. It's insane.
Wow.
I know. Like, and my hygrometer was wrong for the longest time. So I didn't even know. I thought that it was at the 40 mark, but really it was at like the 20 mark. So it was really, really, I guess now thinking back in hindsight, that working in that environment for such an extended period of time probably contributed to this over time developed sensitivity. Another thing I've noticed, correct me if I'm wrong too, but sensitivity breakout or allergy breakout tend to happen a little bit more frequently in the winter time too, in the drier months as well. So do you think that that has to do with the fact that like people are lashing in a drier environment, so that's like triggering?
Yeah, I personally feel like there's a huge correlation because I'll talk to people who are very well respected in this industry and they say, oh no, I have a lot of allergies. Like it's not uncommon for me to see a couple allergies each month. And I'm thinking, if I've been lashing 8 years and I've only seen maybe 1 or 2 total, you know, so I definitely think that low humidity has a role with it. And definitely during the winter, trying to make sure we're not lashing in such a low humidity. And I know it's like it's hard to control our environment, but if you can just raise that moisture a little bit by your work area, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, a little diffuser right around like where you work, that actually find that really helpful. But yeah, I definitely think that that's really important. It's obviously great to have a adhesive that works in a lower humidity, but overall we want the chemical to work in its natural state, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so what about like in terms of like, let's say besides dry time, right? Like we know if the humidity is too high, then sure, the adhesive is gonna cure too fast. But is there any like other like harm in terms, besides the dry time, is there any other negative consequences of lashing in too high of humidity?
Me, the problems I've seen are people are still using their adhesive drop way after it's started to cure. So it's starting to get gummy, a lot of texture to it, and they're still applying it.
Yeah.
You definitely don't want to do that. You're going to increase.
Yeah, definitely.
But if you're changing your adhesive drop often, you're following all the safety protocols, it's, to me personally, not a huge concern as compared to not enough humidity.
Okay,
That's my
good.
opinion.
Yeah. Obviously, I think that it's also more comfortable to lash around that humidity level and that right temperature level as well. As a lash artist, like I know how uncomfortable and stuffy it gets, like when it's like way too humid as well. Okay, so that answers my first 2 questions. Next question that I had was something that I saw. The reason why I brought you live is because the other day you were so generous and you did this like long extended like story and talking about your tips and tricks and answering people's questions. And one of the point that you brought up, I want you to help us elaborate a little bit on, is why do you not cure with water? Because like, you know, for those of you who don't know, a lot of people right now, myself included, what I would do when I'm lashing is that when I'm finished with a glue dot, I would have a squeeze bottle of like water or something like that to shock polymerize that adhesive, so that to me, I'm thinking like I'm not inhaling it as much. And it's also have seen some positive, like, you know, effect, like where I'm not as sensitive to it. But you were saying to me that like that might not be the best way to do it. So could you elaborate a little bit on that?
Sure. So it's really just, I brought my little tray.
Oh,
that I was showing on there.
Yeah.
You know, so it's such a funny thing. And I'm not going to say this is like a scientifically proven thing, although many people are like, that makes sense. So what I'll do is I'll use my drop in the little wells, and then I'll put a sticker on top of the well once I'm done with that adhesive drop to kind of like seal in that adhesive fume. Of course, with cyanoacrylate, it will spread. You can't keep this thing for days on end. It's going to affect your adhesive. But if you use it for a client or two, toss it, good to go. The reason I was saying be cautious of the water drop. I know a lot of people love that, but when you put the water drop on that big of an adhesive drop, it is a lot of fume released instantly, like very quickly. Yeah. And some people will experience that when they have the extensions on their eyes and they accidentally cry or laugh during an appointment and it gets wet instantly. It's like a really quick burning sensation, and it's intense, it's quick. So it's just a very quick fume. It's very intense. So it's just being cautious of that. I know people who love to do that technique. I've definitely put water on my adhesive drop before tossing it too. It's just being cautious that when you're doing this, maybe moving it to the side, away from your nose, your client's face, do that, have it by your air purifier, then toss it. You definitely don't want that really close to you because you are going to have that intense fume for a brief second until it polymerizes instantly.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Safety first, guys. We're around this a lot. Our clients come in an hour every 2 weeks, no big deal. We're around it a lot. I want to protect us so that we're not lashing for just like 3 to 5 years, getting burnt out, having allergies. I want us to lash for like 10, 20, 30 years and retire doing this. So anything that we can do to protect ourselves, you're going to see I always circle back to safety.
Yeah. I think that that's the number one most important thing. That's one of my biggest concerns with the industry is that I'm afraid that there will be an epidemic of, lash artists or clients developing sensitivities as a lash artist, even as a product line or anything like that. I think our goal and our goal in the industry is to make lash extensions more and more common and more comfortable to wear. So that's probably like our responsibility to make it safe for us and our clients. So yeah, I think what you said that made a lot of sense to me. That whole you're shock polymerizing, immediately a lot of fumes are releasing. So now I have that in my mind all the time now. So now I just try to use the sticker trick that you do. But what about saline solution? Would that be better?
That's hard to say. That's something I can't speak to 100% to say water saline would be better. It's hard to say. Yeah, I wouldn't want to lead anyone the wrong way.
So I would even share with you guys a little bit about this exposure. Time of exposure does make a huge difference. Yeah. When I do a full set of lashes on me, it's the reaction that I have is completely different than me doing a 1 hour fill. So now I know if I want to continue to do lashes, I just do 1 hour fill at a time because that's the cutoff point. I make sure I go to my lash artist who's has a well ventilated space. She's lashing above the 40% humidity level. All that has been really, really helpful for me in not getting reaction. Except for that one time I went against my better judgment, which leads me to the next question. My question, and this is probably going to stir up a lot of controversy, but right now on the market, there's a lot of adhesives that we see are cyanoacrylate free, hypoallergenic, vegans, formaldehyde free, what else? Latex free, all these things. I remember when I told my manufacturer this, he was almost offended that I asked him this question. He's like, why do you think I would put latex and formaldehyde in the adhesive in the first place? So, yeah, maybe we can clear some of that up for people first, because I know personally, even for someone like me, I like to think I'm somewhat knowledgeable in adhesive, and I still went against my better judgment and bought this cyanoacrylate free adhesive, and then my eyes turned into hamburgers the next day. Oh boy, that was a mistake you guys do not want to learn from me. So so yeah, let's maybe help us clear up some of these not myths per se, but these marketing ploy maybe.
That's kind of what it comes down to. I think it's great that the industry is trying to move forward, trying to think of better ingredients for our adhesives. However, cyanoacrylates are used in the medical industry too, for just wounds, different things, dental work, all types of surgeries. So it's proven to be pretty okay around the eye area. Everybody's so scared of it because of all these marketing claims that say formaldehyde free, and now it's well, wait, do all my adhesives have formaldehyde? No, it's not an added ingredient into our adhesives. It's actually a chemical reaction as the adhesive degrades over time, which is why I'm a huge supporter of get a new bottle once a month if you can. You know, just get rid of it, get a fresh new bottle. And people say, well, my clients don't really have any irritation until I'm almost through my bottle. Well, there's a reason, right? Like you're at the very end of it. It's been released to a lot of air. Every time you're putting out a new drop, you know, air's getting put back into that bottle, which is a whole different topic. But you know, I think there's a lot of marketing claims, like you said. Formaldehyde, or not formaldehyde, I wanted to switch over to cyanoacrylate-free adhesives don't exist at this time. There is one out there, but you're going to notice if you ever request the MSDS sheets, I'm not going to say who it is. I don't want to any controversy. But if you look at their MSDS sheet, they have a type of acrylate, but it's not a cyanoacrylate. It's kind of known for being in mix of like acrylic and hairspray type hybrids. So it's still not great. It's not like all of a sudden we're using like berries on our eyes, right? So it's still another chemical. So what are we replacing one chemical with is the question. Where's the safety line within that? So I'm cautious of that. I test a million adhesives, obviously. I love it. It's a passion, but I wouldn't fall into those marketing tactics of formaldehyde, latex, cyanoacrylate free. It's really purchasing from someone trusted. You know? Yeah, I think so. Your adhesive is like $15 that you're purchasing right now. It's probably a reason it is.
Yeah, you know, absolutely.
What's in it? It's probably pretty harsh.
Yeah, I think that that's the thing that right now, because our industry, people are putting a lot of effort into obviously developing and innovating, right? So when something is that good to come out, you bet that all the people who are like, you know, are passionate about this, me, you, and like all people that I know will be talking about it. Like just like the gel lie or that one, like everyone is talking about it, right? Yeah. So there's a reason why this like adhesive that exists around the market that claims to be this unicorn adhesive, but nobody's talking about it, right? And yet the first thing to me, the first warning sign was that, from my understanding, there's no a sensitive adhesive that will cure in half a second to 1 second dry time. So anything in half a second to 1 second dry time, I already should have known better. But obviously, I was really hopeful. A girl who's like half sensitivity and allergic, they're super, super hopeful. Which that leads me to another question that I wanted to ask. I don't touch on this topic too much, just because I'm so afraid to give the wrong information. The only thing I ever touch on the topic of allergy and sensitivity is that I talk about how it's not worth your business and it's not worth your clients' eyes to continuously service them until we know in the industry has a proven method that can, like, you know, that doesn't have cyanoacrylate, or that, you know, it's proven to not, it's just not worth it to gamble on your client's eyes. It's like, oh, let's try this time. But why don't you tell us a little bit about the difference between allergy and sensitivity? Because I think in that topic itself, there's a lot of confusions.
There is a lot of confusion. You could be sensitive to something. You could just have some irritation from it. You could have a full-blown allergy. A lot of times these reactions can look very similar, and that's where the danger zone is, and why I always tell a client, go to a trusted doctor, get your allergy test, see how they feel about it. Sometimes, I hate to say it, I see it a lot all over the country, is that clients are just irritated. They're not even like sensitive. They're not even allergic. They're irritated because there's not safe practices happening. And it's just unfortunate. So simple things like having an air purifier, or more of like a fume extractor, if you will, by your application station, making sure you're fanning the eyes. And people think, well, it's not to dry the lashes. It's actually to move the fumes away from you and your client, you know, having airflow in your room. And then I see crazy things like people's eyes are taped up too high and they're open, even slightly. If that lid is just barely turned up, you can allow a fume to slip in there every time you're attaching. So these reactions might look very severe, but it's really just a safety protocol that could be followed. That's not being implemented. And it's hard. We get going. We're not noticing these things. So I circle back to the safety of it, and then not diagnosing your client. If you think they have an allergy, allergies can sometimes develop over time. So like after a lot of exposure to something, and sometimes they'll leave you. They'll contact you in 12 to 72 hours and say, my eye is swollen shut. you know, and they might say, and it's not just my eyes, like my cheeks are really puffy, I feel swelling like down here. Like they have a lot of reaction. It's not always just like, oh, just a little redness on the outer corner of the eye, which would probably be irritation from the application versus like the actual product. Does that make sense?
This might sound super scary, but my first time getting my lashes done in Canada, my lash artist, she was from Russia, and she doesn't even tape your bottom lashes. She does it with like your eyes, like, oh, I don't know. It's super scary. And I remember she only do full set, which is like a true Russian that she is, but like the remover she used would like sting you blind. It's like the most painful experience in the world. But so why don't we use me as a case study now?
Sure.
Because I've been putting this a lot of thought lately that, you know, I've been probably inaccurately calling my reaction to a maybe allergy reaction, because the more I think about it, the more I feel like if it is an allergic reaction, then wouldn't I just not be able to get lashes? Would that make sense? Like, does that make sense to you? Like, I would have, like what you said, like more reaction elsewhere. I will feel it elsewhere. Whereas for me, like, why would it be like the couple of times, like the last time doesn't count because I used someone else's glue, but the couple of times before that when I used my own adhesive, lashing in a shorter amount of time, well ventilated air, I didn't really have any reaction. Like,
that's
that
good.
So would that be just like I'm severely sensitive?
Yeah, like for me, I'm very, very, very sensitive.
Okay.
People who've ever lashed on me know it. You have to make sure my eye is absolutely 100% shut, or I feel that burning instantly. We open my eye at that moment, it'll be bloodshot. You know, I'm very sensitive to it. But like you said, if the humidity is right, if there's the fume extractor, everything's around, I'm completely fine. I have no issues. So it's hard to say if it's allergy, sensitivity. If you're finding things that work, then you're not having a reaction, then it's probably not a full-blown allergy.
Got it.
You know, like if somebody's allergic to peanuts, they're not going to have peanut butter. There's going to be no way around still eating peanuts and not having a reaction. So I'm happy that it might not be a allergic reaction.
Yeah, so I'm really happy too, because like the first time when I was like persistent about it, like my eyes swell up and then had the basic, you know, the oozing and the puzzing. Gross. I'm gonna not share too much with you guys. But gross. Like now it's like I'm kind of fine. Like maybe I feel a little bit itchy, but I think that that's back to what you said, like, you know, it's the environment and everything. So I'm glad to know that, you know, there's a solution, because I really, really love extension for a girl who like never wears makeup. Extension is life. So yeah. For those of you who don't know, a fume extractor that we've been talking about is that really crazy contraption that you guys saw in my story a few days ago, and I got a ton of questions asking about it. That is a fume extractor. It's also called a salon whisper machine. If you Google it, you can find it. Or a V something, starts with V. Do you remember what it's called? But yeah, like I'll tag it after. Yeah, I'll tag it after the live, and I'll like post it and link it to you guys. So that if you're lashing full time and you know you are sensitive or whatever, it's definitely worth investment. It's a little bit expensive, but I know that in some country, like in Russia and some salons, it's like mandatory. Like you can't even have a studio without it. So I would definitely, and it lulls you to sleep because it's like a white noise machine.
It's
so
a white noise.
Yeah.
I use a lot like smaller, less intense of a version of what you use. What you use is amazing. But I've got like a little tabletop one that's rated pretty high too, but it's still noisy.
Can you please share that with me?
Yeah, I'll share it so that people can see the options. Like,
yeah.
Get this for now. Invest in the big bad boy when you can, because
I would love to have a smaller alternative too, because it is quite an expensive investment. I think it's like $2,000 or something like that. So
mine's like $100.
But yeah, I definitely want like share it with me after so I can like link it for everybody, because that's a really good alternative. Okay, so I know that I have this 2 questions. Well, let's start one at a time. First thing is your thoughts on primer, because primer has been the topic of the industry again lately. You know how like bell bottom jeans come back? Yeah, it's like the trend that's coming back. You know, like primer is coming back. It's becoming the talk of the town again. So give us your input on primer. From a product development perspective.
I'm almost like timid to say this, but we're just going to put it out there. If you're thinking of super glue, if you're thinking of any adhesive, like if you're putting something on your car, whatever it is, what does it say to do? It says to apply to a clean, dry surface, and then it
Yeah.
might even tell you use the included alcohol wipe to prep the surface before you stick it. So
Got
it's kind of the thought process with our adhesives too. It's making sure that first the lashes are clean and dry,
Yeah.
and then priming to get like a better secure bond.
Mhm.
Now primers, unfortunately, what we're finding is we have to find a good primer because a lot of them have alcohol as one of their main ingredients, and they can be very drying. So a lot of times I personally, in my opinion, find that after I clean, rinse, dry, they're clean enough. You know, I look at them, they're already matte, they're not shiny. If my client's lashes are still shiny, then I might get a little bit of primer to remove some of that extra oil or any coating that's on them before I attach. But I'm not going to say that primer is like a 100% mandatory for everybody, because I see that it can over dry the lashes, and that's not our goal. Yeah. So I think you have to use your best judgment. And I know that there are some companies working on alcohol-free primers, and I'm really excited to see that come out in 2020, because that's going to be pretty cool. If we can find a way to prime without, you know, ruining the integrity of the natural lash, then I'm all about it.
Yeah, I think that I've spoken to some manufacturers, but like, I think that's one thing that I'm really excited to work with the manufacturer I work with, because they're directly the chemist who develops the formulas, and they are the actual manufacturer of the actual like products. Not because a lot of time right now, the process is that most people are just lash companies that also sells adhesive that's produced by a manufacturer. So being able to firsthand connect with the person that's like on the ground up, I can give suggestions. I can, like, you know, ask him like the things I want, and he will have a better understanding of it because he's coming from a chemist perspective instead of having a middleman that relay messages back and forth, right?
Yeah, no, that's amazing. You have a unique opportunity, and I like that you share this openly with everyone. Nobody shares that, what they talk to chemists and manufacturers about. Yeah, it's very cool.
To me, I think that, like, you know, I want my customers to trust me, obviously. And I've always kind of like my intuition about what I want to do has always been a little bit counterintuitive, but it's got me to where I am right now. And I really like, I think that part of what I like about this industry is being able to take someone on the journey with me and like, let's have fun and let's like try it all together. So
yeah, I love that. And I love that you take people's input. That's great.
Thanks. So this question is probably also a little controversial. So what are your thoughts? I remember, like, you know, you're like not the most 100% comfortable with answering this question. I am feeling the same way as well, but let's talk a little bit about oil-free. Okay, so number one, I want to address that there are a lot of adhesive coming out lately that's saying these adhesives are oil-free. So, you know, it won't, you know, be affected by oils. Now, I also wanted to bring back to what we talked about earlier about how the vegan, hypoallergenic, or like, you know, formaldehyde free, like we already talked about latex, formaldehyde, and all these things aren't really added in adhesive itself, usually. So doesn't that also mean, like, if we think about crazy glue, doesn't that also mean that, like, once it's polymerized correctly, it also doesn't really, logically, okay, I'm just thinking out loud.
Logically,
here, you know?
yes.
Logically, I'm thinking out loud here. I'm thinking, like, logically speaking, you can't just pour a bunch of oil on things that have been crazy glued together and then it just bloop, and it pops off, you know? So what are your thoughts on that?
I think, look, I'm with you. Now, a lot of you might relate to this where you've had a client, or it might not have been your client, it's a new client to you who calls and says, I'm desperate, I had a bad reaction, I'm trying to get these lashes off, can you help me? Last night, I just put olive oil all over my lashes, I put coconut oil, I did everything oily, I put my, like, most oily eye serum, and I just rubbed and rubbed and rubbed, and I think some of them came off, and you look, they didn't come off. The entire natural lash is ripped out because it came off from them scrubbing so hard. So loading up oils is not going to make them just slide off like we think. Now, I tell my clients to avoid oil-free products for an entirely different reason, and that's because it can build up on the natural lashes, making it very slippery to attach to. So when you go to attach, you might attach, you're brushing, and they're all just like, falling off. That makes a lot of sense. I go with it, you know, and I tell them just to avoid that oily eye serum on their eyes, but it's not going to just completely make everything just fall apart. It's not that black and white, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I've had people that I personally know. We talked about in my webinar that, the more porous someone's hair is, the more likely they're going to have a better retention, because there's more divot in there for the interlocking mechanism. But like, I've had people who have porous skin, porous hair, and super oily, and refuses to stop using oil, and they still have lashes. Like, they have the most amazing retention. So I think that, I think you raised a really good point here. Maybe we should just redirect that, like saying, like, instead of telling people oil is going to like make all your lashes fall off, it's almost like false advertisement. But instead, I think maybe we should talk about how the importance of using products that's not too heavy in oil around the eyes, for the reason that you mentioned.
Exactly.
Oh, that's really good. We should definitely make a post about that.
Thanks. I'll add it to my list. I will say that I think that things that affect the adhesive more are going to be like dust, dirt, debris, makeup, those type things, because it'll get, I can't do this. Let's see. It'll get right between that bond, and it will start just like building up. And as it gets lodged in there, it's not necessarily breaking the adhesive down as much as it's causing this split where the lash is now more likely to get caught or snagged or pulled off. And then especially at our base, if our base isn't seamless and it's just a little bit lifted, then it can get right in there too. And let's be honest, we aim for 100% perfect attachments, but they're not always. That adhesive might have wicked up a little bit, that you might not have had the perfect angles. So, keeping the lashes clean is really going to help the clients more than being scared to touch an oil.
Yeah, I think that like, one of the things that I like to give people an analogy is, because I am personally a picker when it comes to our shellac, like nail polish.
Oh yeah,
right?
I was like,
so I always, not lashes, trust me. I never understood pickers. I'm like, ow, that sounds so painful to me. But I understand that it's like a, anxiety, or like it's like a coping thing, or some people just do it because they can feel, probably the same as me picking my nails when I have shellac. And it's the same thing. Like, when it comes to shellac, that's why they buff your nail right before they apply. It's because they're trying to create those grid so that, like, the gel can like bond on there. So which is why we clean our lashes to expose the like follicles in our hair to create that bond. And also, that's why when it lifts a little bit, when you have someone like me, when it lifts a little bit, because it's not the perfect attachment, it falls off really easily, because like it would just peel and it just lift, right? So same as our application for extension. Yeah, it's the same. If you don't have that seamless attachment, then it just lifts a little bit in the corner, and then just boop, and it just pops off.
It keeps coming off, and then people feel it if they touch them, which we tell our clients don't touch them, but they do. They sit there like this, and they're like, wait a minute, I feel something. They feel it. With it. Then this starts with the nail, popping them off, or rubbing them, touching them, coming in saying they don't know what happened. And we always immediately assume like aftercare, and we think products, when really they're probably just messing with them.
Exactly.
In general. But no, olive oil is not going to make the adhesive just like melt away. Sorry. And as we've all used in sorry, I'm reading some of these comments. They're cracking me up. We've all used an adhesive remover, and you can kind of feel the texture of that. And people think, well, that's kind of oily, but that's not the only ingredient in there. Think of how you dissolve something, like when you use like Goo Gone. Look at me saying Goo Gone. But Goo Gone, it is very like oily and kind of greasy, but it's also a chemical to make that adhesive break down. So it's different. And I've had clients say, well, can I take some of that with me in case I have an allergic reaction to take them off? No.
Yeah. Actually, I wanted to, while on the topic of remover, I want to ask a quick question to the audience. I feel like I'm like on TV. The audience. Let's ask the audience a question. I am thinking about so right now, most of you who order my remover would know that is a bitch to open. So
it's so crazy.
I know it is. But like, my manufacturer was so proud of himself, and he's telling me how like, oh, most remover don't have a seal on. We seal. Very good, very good. And I'm like, oh, very good, very good. But now you can't open it at all. So I was thinking, so I wanted to get everybody's opinion on this. I was thinking starting a remover in 1 gram packets. Have you guys seen those like eye lift and like serums and stuff like that? So I was thinking like 1 gram packets, and then so that it's because I've seen so many times, I've seen this, people like go in with their lipstick applicator, dab on the lashes, go back with the same lipstick applicator, and then dab on the lashes again. So I was thinking like this would prevent cross-contamination. You're leaving one packet per client. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I'm like, I just want to answer. Like, let me comment. I think that's amazing.
Yeah,
it's crazy that you said that out loud. It's, yes, because it's keeping the adhesive remover. Look, I'm holding your adhesives. I'm very fidgety. It's keeping the adhesive remover fresh. It's the whole reason that many of us love lash lift solutions that come in packets and don't use the bottles anymore for a reason. And I think that's huge, and I can't imagine anyone saying no to that.
Okay, so yeah, I was thinking like, you know, because initially I'm trying to I don't do a lot of removal, I guess. So I always try to get an idea of like how much content are people using per removing service, I guess. I got this idea because I watched someone show me a removal the other day where they take the bottle and they just squirt it on the lash line.
That's
so I'm
one
like,
way.
oh, that's really cool. But they use gel, right? But then we all know gel is really runny and it stings and it gets into your eyes super uncomfortable. Right. So I'm like, oh, what if we did like packets, you know?
Yeah.
Or squeeze tube. But then what if the squeeze tube also touches the lashes? So that's what I'm thinking, you know.
Love the disposable packets, and I would think something similar to the amount that's in a lash lift packet.
Okay.
I don't know offhand how much that is, would be good, because really what are you doing? You're just saturating just right across each eye. That's all you really need after you let it set for like 30 seconds to a minute. It's just like, and you're done. You're not always like going back and going back and going back and going back. So I think you're onto something there, and you better get on it.
All right, I will. Don't worry.
It's a really good one. That's my opinion.
People always like, oh, aren't you worried
all the
about
comments are positive. It's not just me.
Yeah, every time when people was like, oh, aren't you worried about stealing ideas? I'm like, you know what? I always refer back to like Elon Musk. Elon Musk has, those who don't know, Elon Musk never patented any of the development and innovations for Tesla because his goal is to have the gas cars to be obsolete in the whole entire world to drive electric car. And that doesn't take one Tesla. It takes BMW to make an electric car. It takes like, you know, Honda to make an electric car. So I kind of feel that way too. I'm just like, it's okay. I'm not too worried. But also I know that like,
it's a great idea.
I also know that my remover is so bomb and that it's hard to duplicate. I was so proud of this remover when it came out. I'm like, oh my God. Gel had a baby with cream and this is the baby.
Also, why does it smell so good? I was wafting it. Okay.
I know. Okay. So initially, I debated for a really, really long time between a no smell one, like exact same remover has zero smell, or a smell. Well, initially I had an aloe smell because my brand was green before, but now because it's pink and blue, so I picked the pink because green doesn't really fit in anymore. Right. I'm always thinking about that. But so I was just like, oh, and then I asked about the perfume content in it, and it's really, really low. But it is a rose like essence smell or whatever. Okay. So I was just like, you know what? Because it's so low that I'm gonna be like okay with it, I guess. I've debated a really long time and I've asked a lot of people, and people tend to be like, oh, you know, they actually hate the smell of remover generally, and the clients have complained about the smell of remover. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'll do it that way. But if, you know, I was thinking maybe I can launch a no fume one to like no smell one, just for those who want to choose. Like, you know, personally when I use skin products and stuff like that, I prefer like no smells on my skin products. So but then the smell ones are usually the preference of everybody. True. No, I was wondering, I was like, what am I smelling? I couldn't place exactly what scent it was. It's rose. It's a but rose I need scent. To do a removal because I want to try that so bad. Yeah, it's the consistency of it. Once I'm actually getting my boyfriend to remove mine, so I'm gonna get him to do it tonight. So fingers crossed that he doesn't blind me. Yeah, don't burn your eye. But yeah, I removed it on him, and he never like had any chemical around his eyes and whatever. So he was really nervous. And he said he didn't feel anything. It was perfectly fine. He didn't feel any stinging, any discomfort. So I'm really happy about that. I think it's gonna be amazing. Like you said, I don't do a lot of removals either, but maybe I'll just apply to my husband just so I can remove, because I want to try that so Yeah.
The consistency is perfect.
Yeah,
Honestly,
I know. That's
I
why
love
really
it.
like it.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Okay,
we're
sorry.
getting to the end. I do want to ask you one last question. This
Okay.
is kind of a loaded question, a full, closing the conversation kind of question is that I want to ask you, what are some of the thoughts that you have about the future of our industry? Like, what are some trends that you believe that may happen, or just like your opinions in general about the future of our industry? I'm always curious about this question with people,
Yeah, I should have prepared something for that. So,
That's okay.
I'm like, let's see. So much to say, but I think right now there's a huge push to try to elevate the industry higher. Unfortunately, I would say the past like 3 years or so, it's starting to dip, and that's because everybody loves extensions. It's becoming more accessible, and how to say this very nicely, it's become cheap. You can get extensions done very, very inexpensive now. Everybody can afford it at this point. It's no longer a luxury. So having to just build back up what we do, and that's not saying that you can't be at a low price point, but not having, that super luxury skill set and charging nothing for it. So I'm seeing a lot of people wanting to like raise up and encourage the industry and set yourself apart with the products you're using, with your education, with your expertise of the application. So that's been like a huge thing I'm seeing happening that I think is going to continue, is just that fight to build up and stop undercutting each other. Finding those hiring clients and just knowing that there's a market for everyone, but we really don't have as many people at like the top end, at least not in Houston. There's a couple of us up here, and then it's a lot of really poor quality work for some unknown reason.
Yeah.
So, building up education, and I'm also feeling, which is unrelated to products, but I'm feeling a more sense of community happening where everyone is coming together, starting to love and support each other, and those who are
collaboration.
Share, yeah, exactly, collaborating. Those who are scared to share what tweezer they're using, they're just kind of alienating themselves, and I wish that they would just not, because it's a beautiful community. Don't be scared to share your information. Of course, we have our trade secrets, things that make us unique. But if somebody calls me and says, what adhesive are you using? Like, I brought them. They're right here. What tweezers am I using? I will share that. It's not a secret. So that's really cool. The future of our industry, something I think is going to be huge in 2020, is going to be like really high quality pre-made fans. Absolutely. I'm seeing those are starting to get better and better and better. And no, I don't think it devalues hand making fans at all. I just think it's like a whole nother elevation. And there's also a huge push of like design. That's going to be huge in the next coming years, is just breaking the limits. We always had these strict rules, but how can we break those rules and give our clients what they want, but safely? Yeah. And then I know for me in the industry, like what I want to push the next 5 years is safety. Safety for you and your client. So what are your thoughts on regulation then? Because right now for me in Canada, there's no body of regulation whatsoever. In US, it's not even considered a body of regulation. It's just really your cosmetology license or esthetician license. But that's still not considered a body of regulation for the industry itself, right? So what are your thoughts on that? In Texas, we have a very unique state because we're the only state in the United States that has a lash specialty license. Unfortunately, I train a lot of girls who complete that course who felt like they didn't learn anything. It's 320 hours, so 8 weeks, full time. It should be a great course. Think of 8 weeks with a really good mentor by you. You should be very good. You shouldn't be leaving school not knowing how to determine the diameter or the length that someone should wear, or even knowing how to design a cat eye. It's unfortunate, but I think that I would love to see regulations like tighten up a little bit. And I don't think the answer is to throw it into aesthetics. A lot of people are saying, well, they need more education in aesthetics about lashes, but that's a skin specialty. I would really like to see more states have a lash specialty license and actually focus on quality education, which we're working on in Texas, but it's just not quite there. I think that would help bring the prices up again, right? Like, I do too. When you have to spend that kind of money to make sure you're certified, make sure that you're up to par with regulations and stuff like that. Those are all investments of your business, right? Which then in turn you can justify a price increase.
And I think a good way to solve the price problem is also pre-made fans. Like I am putting right now currently like all of my effort into, because I already like nailed down all my manufacturer. Our lashes are just in production. That's it. It just takes so long because the order is so big. That means nobody's gonna miss out. But like right now, all my effort is going back and forth revising pre-made fans every single month, because I really truly believe pre-made fan is the future. It makes sense economically because lash artists don't have to work nearly as long, because 4 hours, it's nothing. Like no other job you would be sitting for 4 hours nonstop in one position that can cause like pains and aches and things like that. So I think that with that and then also like clients don't want to lay there for 3 hours for an appointment either, right? So I think that pre-made fan would be a good solution to like that problem as well. But in terms of regulations, I'm always like, the rebel in me is just like, ugh, I hate bodies of regulation, because they never know what's up and they just like stuns the growth of creativity. But then the other side of me was just like, oh, but we're talking about people's eyes here, so I hope in the future we can find a happy medium where we are having the regulation that really regulates on the things that matters, like sanitizations and like safety, like what you said, right? Keeps going back to safety, but not in a way where it makes it so difficult, like makes people jump over hoops to get their license, then makes people just don't want to do and pursue a career as a creative artist in this.
Yeah, honestly, it's just for me understanding the safety protocols, understanding proper sanitation, disinfecting, sterilization, all of that. That's the biggest thing. And then, you're an artist, you're free to do what you want to do, but somebody's got to regulate us actually being clean and actually care for the safety. And then if it was to that point of regulations, there'd probably be so much good info out there about how we can further protect ourselves.
Yeah,
all
for sure.
The big minds would come together and think, what can we do to make this safe, make this good for everybody long term? So I love it.
I'm glad that's someone else's problem, not mine.
Yeah.
So.
No, it's a big thing to take on. I don't know exactly what one quick answer could be for it, but I hope to see more regulations in the next 5 years for sure. I love that you're working on some pre. I always teach that like pro mates are great because yes, it takes you time to pro make them, but clients will actually pay more because they're spending less time with you and they want that. Yeah,
I always
like
pro making or pre-making or buying pre-made, whatever it is. I think that time is money. Yeah, I think time is money. Yeah. And if somebody is, getting more time back into their life, you definitely justify to charge more, because at the end of the day, the argument of like just charging for your, like, your craftsmanship of making the fan, I think that argument, it's going to slowly like run out of its like power. I don't even know what I'm saying, but I just think that that's not a good enough argument to say why we had to like not be on the pre-made fan boat. But well, we have a few more minutes left, so if you guys have any questions for her, please send it below while we have her here, because who knows, when are you ever going to get a chance to get to like pick someone's brain and get them to answer any questions that you want them to answer. And thank you for being so generous, because I know that it's not, like you said, right, it's not everybody don't agree with this. I know that it's not everybody's value in just giving away free education and free information. And I sometimes understand the merit behind that too. You don't want to give people just pieces of a puzzle and then they take it and then run with it and do something catastrophic. But
yeah, and we're just like scratching the surface. Everything is so superficial, so a lot of the answers are like this, but like there's so much more to it. But for safety, I just cannot imagine not giving away safety information for free. It's just insane.
Well, I am Kelly YVO. Kelly VO. Boo. I'm Kelly Boo. Ask you, what's your favorite tweezer and lashes?
Tweezers, I have an absolute hands down favorite. For isolation, I like the Extreme Lashes Isolation Pro Comfort Tweezer. I don't have it on me, terrible, but it's a very long, straight, skinny, and then it bends down, but the dip is a lot longer than anything I see on the market. So I would take a look at that. And then for my volume tweezer, I love Maven Artistry's tweezer. If you've ever seen me lash or been lashed by me, I have a very light, dainty hand. I joke about it with my husband. I'm like, no, I can't do work. My hands are too dainty. So I need something that if I just barely pinch, it's closed and it's holding those lashes. So Maven Artistry kills it for me. Some other tweezers I like. I really like Revelations that I just got in. That's a really nice one too.
Nice. Yeah, they look really good. They look luxurious.
There's so many good ones. Like
I know.
So
that's why I think that like when you have like free economy, then like everyone can just like just put in their creativities. I've noticed our industry have so many people that are just so talented in things they probably never thought they would do. Like JC, I talked to JC and she just like I just never thought I would be like editing videos, but she's just so good at it.
I'm so jealous of her.
She should totally launch a course, teach people how to edit videos,
Please, I'll sign up immediately.
Me too.
But so many
I have too much stuff to do. I'm like, why can't I just have 48 hours in a day? I just need 48. I'm not even greedy.
Yeah.
Double.
Just double team around me.
It was so nice talking to you. Thank you so much.
You too.
Yeah. I'm going to save this and I'm going to, repost it on IG story so that everyone, don't miss out because a lot of people are probably busy sleeping or out for dinner. So they probably missed it today. So I want to be able to, share this with anyone else who's interested in. So thank you again. And I will look forward to your feedback on the adhesive. For those of you guys,
Adam.
So they are currently, the black one is currently sold out, but we are restocking. My very serious Korean man had messaged me yesterday with my DHL shipping tracking number. So it's on the way. It's in the US now. So it's like any day now, basically.
And I've already nitpicked them. So I can't wait to actually like use them on people because I've already nitpicked like your ingredients and everything. And
nice.
They're gonna be good. Your invisible ink, like I just assume is going to be a very strong bond. Which I can just automatically know from looking at it. And then your retention adhesive is probably going to be still strong. However, it's going to be more flexible and less prone to bloom, less prone to
spot on.
So
spot on.
Yes, I was like looking up everything on it. I was like, let's see. So I just assume that some of my clients who are struggling with longevity issues, I'm going to try this on. You think?
I have
one too.
Yeah, I had someone message me right before us went on live, and she just like, Cheryl, fucking pang, you did it. And then she was just like, I really thought it was a market. Someone was like, I really thought it was a marketing ploy when you keep saying this like magnetic thing. She's like, nope, it's not. It does literally feels like magnetic, and literally feels like, and then it just, And I'm like, so when I asked my, the chemist was like, how do I know if I open a bottle? Because I want to test, right? What if I can't test it on people or whatever? He's just like, you should just know. You know because it's good, okay? You just know. I'm like, oh, okay. She's like,
okay, I'll take your word for it.
I only use very good product, very good ingredient. So you just know. I'm like, oh, okay. All right. I would just know that. But yeah.
So funny. But yeah, I just wanted to say I already was like dissecting them from that viewpoint. I just always schedule like models first for anything new that I try, just so I can control what I'm doing 100%.
Yeah.
No ifs.
I can't wait to give you some lashes for you to do sets then if you're doing models. Because like that's what I want. I want people to do I want to be able to like send out for people to do like crazy creative work. So I'll be sending you some M curls. I don't know if you've tried it yet.
I want to. Like I haven't.
My new favorite. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. We're hitting up the 1 hour mark. I don't want to cut you off. So I'm just going to say bye now.
Okay.
And thank you guys so much for showing up. I will try to bring someone else next time and we'll do this again. Bye. Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for attending. If you guys have somebody who you think is really cool that you want to pick their brain or you want a topic that you guys want to cover next time, please let me know. Send me a DM, send me an email. I'll try to bring on, last time we had Paul from the Lashcast podcast, just spontaneously impromptu dropping by and talking about saline. So if you guys have anyone else that you wanted to kind of like, hear them, let me know. I'll work my magic. I'll work my charm. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great evening and a great week, and I will see you guys here and there on Instagram.